Trying to reconnect. What's going on, YouTube?
Hey, what's up, YouTube? We about to go ahead and get this thing started for another Relationship Thursday. We missed y'all last week, but we can get this rocking and rolling this Thursday.
Oh.
You're always hating on the music that I play. All right, what we got to do right here?
Oh, no. Let me try again. There we go.
Hey, what's up, Facebook? What's up, Facebook? Welcome to another Relationship Thursday. We got something good in store for y'all. This is an instrumental. It's an instrumental with a little bit of what you be doing in the background. You know?
No. I don't know.
You don't know?
Yes. If you're just joining us, welcome to Relationship Thursdays with Ayiza and Iyam. This is my fabulous, my phenomenal, my, what do you call it?
You tell me what you're going to call it.
Let's see what you call it.
I know.
My amazing.
What you going to call me?
I was trying to think of a specific word. My baby, my boo thing, Ayiza, my aunts.
What up, boo?
What up, boo?
And this right here is my incredible, my impeccable, my beautiful, my gorgeous, my indelible, my edible, my incredible and sensational wife. Yeah.
Thank you, baby.
I love you, baby.
I love you too.
How are you doing?
I'm doing all right. It's been a long day.
It's been a long day?
But here I be.
Yeah.
Yes. I just want to say what's up. Let us know where you're watching us from, where you're coming in, going.
No, it's not that we couldn't get it together.
Shavannah said she missed us last week. No, we were planning on it.
No. We had something important that we was doing. Like
we were actually having
a family discussion. Yeah. So that was the priority last week. So we had to make sure that
this music is blowing me. Can I change time?
You always like my selections nowadays. You always criticize.
You hear that?
Yeah. It's working for me. You just gotta ride with it and just flow with it.
Okay.
You know, let that thing ride for a second.
So where y'all coming from? Raleigh, North Carolina, Benton Harbor, Michigan. Fine 29, our sis Fine 29 is in the house. I see you, Sharice, and what's up, Naja? Is that how I say your name, sis? Hello, Stephanie and Rod. What's going on, Rod? Tracy is representing San Antonio. We got Tanisha. Hey, Tanisha, how's that baby girl? And Charlisha and Pastor Mika, Shay, and John, and on and on and on. Monique Dasher, I see you as well. So, can we turn this off now?
You cut it down a little bit.
Yeah, let's go ahead and let folks know. We see you on YouTube.
Brian, bro, say let it ride. Just let that thing ride.
Brian is always representing what's going on. He's always representing Chicago, Chi-Town. So tonight, let them know what we're going to be talking about. Again, if you're just joining us, we are a couple. We are married. We've been together. This month, it will be 16 years of marriage.
Yes, on Sunday, actually. 16 years.
Yeah, not this Sunday.
Yes, this Sunday. No,
next Sunday. Next Sunday. Yeah, next Sunday. So, yes, we've been together, been married for 16 years, and high
together
school.
For 23.
Yes.
24, I guess now.
I don't know. Can't keep up now. High school sweethearts, and we're both therapists. We're both licensed therapists, but we do this work helping couples, helping individuals, helping families, but specifically focusing on and targeting couples who are in committed relationships, who are married, who are really trying to make their relationship better and trying to create what they want and know that it takes work, right? And expect that it takes work. We do this and pull from real life, pull from our own walk and some of the stuff that we've been through that we have gone through successfully, some things we're still going through. And guess what? It's more to come. Well, yes, it's always more to come. That's just what it be, right? You don't never arrive. You're just in process. So thank you, Simone, for the 16 years. Congrats, and same thing, Tanisha.
So you mentioned you never arrive, but the thing that I want to say here is that you can actually establish a new norm. So while you might not ever arrive, establishing a new norm in your relationship is what we aim to help you do. And that's what we've been doing constantly throughout the course of our relationship, establishing new norms by going through a process of examination, self-examination, examination as a couple, and then going to the next level. So we're going to touch on some of that.
Going to balance that out.
I got to balance it out.
Anytime
when you say
I
you
say
never
anything,
arrive, I mean, come on, it just seems so absolute and defeatist.
You don't, because, so anytime I say anything that, I shouldn't say anytime, but a lot of times, if I say, and I don't care, we talking about relationships, we talking about me and him, we talking about anything. If it seems to you like, you take something that's a simple truth and you make it, it's like you take it negatively. And you gotta no, but even though you may not arrive, you can also and
let's reframe that then.
Yeah, but it's not about reframing it. I spoke a simple truth. I said you never arrive, whether it's your own personal journey or whether it's our journey as a couple. We're always growing and building. Everything you said was really wrapped up in what I said, but just in case anybody thought that means we were struggling too hard, you had to capture that. Wait a minute, bring it back.
No, not even about us. I'm just talking about people in general. I am. I'm speaking about people in terms of their perception about what it means to be in a committed relationship.
I know. I can count on you for that.
Yeah, you can. You absolutely can.
I know. You're like, wait a minute. There's always a light.
Yeah.
It may be a long tunnel you got to walk down.
There's always
but there is a light at the end of the tunnel.
Yes, indeed.
And don't let it yawn and make you think differently.
Yes, indeed.
I know it's a light. Thank you for the happy early anniversary. We're going to make sure he balanced that thing out.
This is going to be good, y'all, because we're going to be touching on some of the stuff that we just talked about this evening in this live stream.
What are we talking about?
So tonight, y'all. Hold on. I just got I just got paste. That's all I got to do. And then I can go ahead and get busy right after that.
All right. So let me tell them what the topic is. No, you go ahead. No, you do.
So the topic, you might want to open that one up right there. So we got the same thing up. We can talk about it.
Okay.
All right. So the topic, y'all, we're going to be talking about 4 strategies. What?
Bryant on the 21st, 13 years for him and his queen. That's what's up.
Happy early anniversary to you.
Okay.
All right. So tonight, y'all, we're going to be talking about 4 strategies to help you survive the storms of marriage. 4 strategies to help you survive the storms of marriage. And so this right here was partly inspired by, actually is brought to our attention from Pastor Anika. She sent us a message earlier. And we had actually been watching the Blackish episodes. And so we're going to be touching on Blackish this evening in the current space that they're in. And actually I haven't seen the latest episode. I know you watched some of it. But I
listened to the whole thing. I be listening to stuff on the car. I listen to it in the car.
Using that as using pieces of that to touch on these 4 strategies that you can use to help you survive the storms of marriage.
All right. So as we always tell you, if you are serious and you really want to take something in tonight and you want to take it to another level, then you need to make sure you get out a pen and paper. You know what I'm saying? If you're not going to do the pen and paper, then maybe do your phone, because you have to capture what it is that really sticks for you. You have to capture it. If you don't capture it, then it will leave you. Somebody asks you, what was it that was good about that live stream we were talking about the other night? You'd be like, I don't know, but it was good. And then if you don't capture it, you ain't going to work on it. So I want you to make sure that you put your game face on and that you pay attention. So 4 strategies. I like that. We keeping it nice and short tonight.
Nice and short.
You started out 7. And if I don't be careful, he'll talk about 17 and ain't nobody got time for all that. So
let's go ahead and get started, y'all.
Get started, baby.
So before we even get started with the 4 strategies, what I want to do is give you all 3 guarantees. 3 guarantees.
But please share this video.
Yeah.
Please share this video, share this video, share this video. Thank you.
Yeah. So 3 guarantees prior to giving you all the 4 strategies. Guarantee number 1. Your relationship, pay attention, y'all. Your relationship will experience storms. Your relationship will experience storms. I'm not trying to paint a bleak picture. I'm not trying to paint a grim picture. I just want you to know the reality of the situation. I guarantee you, number 1, your relationship will experience storms. Now, what might these storms look like? They could be financial storms. They could be storms around infidelity. They could also be storms around possibly death, losing a loved one, losing an in-law, losing your parents.
Having health crises.
Having health crises. Storms can come in a number of ways. Loss of a job. Storms are going to come in your relationship. That's one thing that I will definitely guarantee. So if you feel like you're just starting this whole marriage thing out, keep in mind, y'all, storms are going to come. They're going to come. So brace yourself. Guarantee number 2.
These are guarantees.
These are guarantees, y'all.
Don't get married if you don't want to go through nothing.
I'm going to stamp these. Guarantee number 2. The storm will end.
Well, that'll preach right there. The storm will end. Say it again.
The storm.
Put your preacher voice on.
What? The storm will end.
Yes.
It definitely will.
You got to hold on to that.
So whether or not you're actually being intentional about walking through your process and applying certain principles, techniques, and strategies to bring the storm to an end, that's one thing. If you decide to actually end the relationship, the storm could also end in that process as well. So again, the storm is going to end, y'all. That's another guarantee that I have for you. Mm-hmm. And then guarantee number 3. Your storm will bring value.
It's a big if, though.
If you fully embrace it, which means you experience it and you extract the lesson. Mm-hmm. Again, your storm will bring value if you embrace it, meaning you experience it and you extract the lesson.
So that one right there is really important, because those first 2 guarantees, I feel like they're more bona fide guarantees. Mm-hmm. The third one is the if, right? We put the if in there. The first one was, you're going to experience storms. The second one was they will end, right? It'll have a season and it will end. And then the third one was, if you experience it and extract it, then, it's going to bring you some value. So let's just break that down for a second. A lot of times we don't want to experience whatever it is we're going through. We resist it and we push it away, and we're not really trying to acknowledge it. You ever been, talking to somebody and they share something with you, maybe about their relationship, maybe about a situation in their life, and they say some real obvious stuff like, I had no idea that this was going on. And you thinking, I knew, and your mama knew, and the friends and everybody else, how you ain't know? Because they don't want to experience it. It's like putting on blinders. I don't even want to pay attention to what's actually happening. And oftentimes that's because we're scared, we're afraid, we're unsure. What does this mean? Right? And so we don't want to look at it. But again, whatever you resist, it will persist. Whatever you look at, it will disappear. It tends to disappear. It doesn't mean it just goes away, but it means that it becomes easier for you to be able to get clear about and then strategize around. So you got to be willing to experience it. That means feel the feelings. Don't try to push them away. A lot of times we do that stuff. We don't even recognize what we're doing. We just do it on autopilot. Let me go get involved in something. Let me go watch something on TV. Let me, go to sleep and not even act like I see my boo over there. I'm just going to do what I do. Stay in my corner. He's staying in his corner, right? All of these things we do to avoid the experience of whatever is happening, and really to avoid connection on some level. So you got to experience something before you can extract the lesson. If you do not experience it, there's nothing you can pull from it. So when you shut down the reality of what's going on, when you shut down your mind, when you don't pay attention to how you're really feeling, to what seems like is going on, when you don't pay attention and you don't allow yourself to really experience it and name it, you will not extract a thing. So the storm can come. You getting beat up anyway. You know what I'm saying? Y'all ain't talking. You upset. Y'all are disconnected. You're concerned about your spouse's health or whatever. And, are they going to be here with us? Somebody has passed on and transitioned, and it's really messed up how they deal with you. Right now, you're like, I know your daddy died, but you kind of like, you real special the way you treat me and the kids now, right? Like, I mean, so dealing with all of these kinds of things is difficult, and it requires courage, but you got to be willing to experience it so that you can extract, you can take away the lesson. You don't do it, you're getting beat up anyway, and you're going to get beat up with the storm and going to take some blows and ain't going to get nothing from it. Let me tell you something. If I'm going to take some blows and got to deal with this attitude that you be having sometimes,
really?
This shutdown, you know what I'm saying? He have the sneaky deek attitude. You know what I'm saying? My attitude is like, his attitude is like, real calm on but this Bama will straight up like not talk, not say nothing, walk around. The energy is thick. You know what I'm saying? And if I gotta and it hurts me. It hurts me. I'm in the moment. I'm like, does too. What?
It really does hurt you.
How you know that?
I mean, you said it to me. I don't know how many times, but
I don't like that. How do I show it?
You show it just in terms of
when you're shutting me out.
Yeah, when I'm shutting you out, you show it because you can be kind of petty, as you mentioned before, and get in your space where you shutting me out too. But you more so when you verbalize it, when you express to me the pain that you feel around me shutting you out.
I don't say it like that.
It's palpable. I feel it. I feel it, and I'm sorry.
Oh, Thanks. It's getting a little personal.
Yeah, I mean, no. So another piece, y'all, in reference to extracting the value, what I want to lift up is that, you know, it's important.
I just want to say that. So if you're going to go through that and you got to deal with this stuff, then you might as well get something from it. Your feelings hurt anyway. You concerned, you whatever, you upset, you alone. You might as well get something from it. Don't go through that and don't get nothing out of it. Do you understand what I'm saying? So allow yourself to see clearly, to feel clearly, and to then position yourself to get the lesson.
And I like that word, position. And thanks for all of those who've already shared. Please share if you haven't. If you find yourself positioning yourself to exist in your relationship in a state of perpetual pain, then you won't be able to extract the value either.
What that mean?
And so what I mean more specifically about that is, you know, if you find yourself in a space where you're in this space of anticipatory grief, where you're always anticipating that something bad is going to happen, always anticipating that your spouse is trying to slight you, trying to go on you, trying to come at you, always anticipating that there's going to be some type of drama, always anticipating that the other shoe or hammer is about to drop. If you're always anticipating or existing in the space of anticipatory grief, then again, you'll find yourself in a space where you can't extract the value because your norm is perpetual pain. So you want to shift that dynamic where, again, you're able to experience what's going on, but experience it is not just identifying the negative. What you also want to do is be able to see the positive in your experience as well.
I'm looking at your outline tonight. You get deep in this show.
Yeah. So let's go ahead. So again, those 3 guarantees that you're going to experience it is. Number 1, your relationship will experience storms. If you're new to it, buckle up. Get ready. You're going to experience some storms in your relationship. Number 2, the storm will end. It's not going to last forever, ever. Whether it be y'all in the relationship or whether it be you grow and move on, the storm will end. And number 3, your storm will bring value if you fully embrace it, meaning you experience it and extract the lesson from it. All right. So 4 strategies, y'all. And again, share this video. 4 strategies for you to survive the storms of your marriage that are coming.
Yes, Lord.
Number 1, prepare. Prepare. Now, when I speak about preparation, there's 3 key components that I'm speaking about. What I'm speaking about here is communication, connection, and commitment. How many of y'all have been paying attention to the latest episodes of Blackish? I think it's been like the past 4 episodes of Blackish where they've experienced like some major stuff in their relationship. Anybody out there paying attention to Blackish right now?
Hashtag Blackish if you like it. If you're watching
anybody out there?
If you identify with it, with just don't even say all that because I don't want people to be like, nah, but have you been watching it?
Yeah.
It was getting pretty good.
So one of the things that I want to lift up is that in reference to you preparing for storms that will inevitably come, one thing that we noticed on the show is that y'all might disagree, but based off of our observation, it seems like
based off of our observation of their acting.
Yeah.
They're not real.
But we've seen it before. It did not seem to be that there was this element of heightened intimacy in their relationship. Like there was no mushy connection. They weren't Martin and Gina. They weren't
Cliff. I want to know what y'all think about that.
They weren't Cliff and Claire. They weren't even Tisha and Damon Wayans. They weren't, some of these other TV romances and relationships that we've seen. I didn't necessarily see the intimacy, the connection, the moments of affection.
I mean, saw a little something.
A little bit, but for real, like in reference to the preparation phase of dealing with storms, I didn't see the connection in their relationship. Let us know what y'all think. Mm-hmm. Did y'all see that? Did you all feel like something was missing? I see somebody said agree over there.
Yeah. It's like almost like they were really good friends, but they weren't necessarily lovers, right? But I think the thing that's really important here is that when you're preparation is how you walk and you flow every day in your relationship. So we often talk about the 3 C's. And so we're switching up one of the C's tonight. Courage is one of the C's we talk about. You have to have courage to be in a real relationship. Courage. Some people say courage. You need to have courage to be in a real relationship. And so think about this. You need courage to do these 3 things. You got to communicate. Again, as we always talk about, you got to be connected. You got to be willing to actively pursue connection. And you have to be committed to the process. So you're not going to actively pursue connection. Let me tell you something. I left out the house this morning at, I don't know, in the 6 o'clock hour. Right. And then I'm moving throughout my day. It's packed tight. I'm running here and there. I'm doing different things, you know, but I am clear that my husband is a priority. So I cannot go for an extended period and not connect with him. Mm-hmm. I got to do it. I don't just do it today because I'm gone for a long time. I do it every single day.
Absolutely.
I do it every single day as a habit, as a reflex. It's a practice. And anything that you practice, you know, you're going to get better at. Mm. And so I do that by shooting text. Sometimes I really can't talk because I'm just in meetings back to back to back. I'm doing different things. You can't talk. But you know what? I'm not going throughout my day and I haven't picked up my phone and texted him, hey, sweetie, love you. What you doing? Miss you. Can't wait to see you later on. Is that not the truth?
That's absolutely true.
My husband does the same thing. Yeah, he does the same thing, right? So that's preparation because we're staying connected. We're reaching out and connecting in and doing it as a habit.
And we don't just exist in a functional relationship. So one of the things that I've seen in watching Blackish is that
you might be criticized them. Everybody loves them.
No. I do like Blackish. I like the show because I do feel like it brings value. I see Queen P over here. She said, no, I try not to watch the show because they do not portray us well. And I can understand, you know, the whole materialism piece. You know, I
want to know what you mean by that, Queen P. What you say some more about that?
But I also see value in seeing Black representation in Black relationships. And of course, they got work that they need to do, but we all got work. So I'm looking at their relationship, their fictional relationship, because again, I'm using that for this live stream right here. So we didn't see the intimacy, the affection, the connection, the warmth, the you know, the I want you type energy between Dre and Bo. Mm-hmm. We didn't see that. So connection was absent, but that's what's needed in order for you to prepare for the storms. One thing that we did see was commitment. We saw commitment early on, but again, it was a functional type of commitment.
Not criticize the commitment.
No, the commitment was solid, but what I'll say too is that the relationship was based off of, you know, what can you do about the kids, running a household, and, you know, all of that type of stuff. And again, if you're existing in a relationship like that, what you're going to need to survive storms is the connection. You need the connection to survive the storms that are coming in your relationship.
Yeah, if it was one thing I could tell you, if it said I can give you 10 tools, but they said no, you can only give it one. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna say you better figure out how to connect. Mm-hmm. It ain't that you got to figure out how to agree. Mm-hmm. You got to figure out how to understand point of view. No, it ain't none of that. How can you split the division of labor in the house? No, I'm gonna say figure out how to connect. Mm-hmm. What in the world can you do to make sure that? And what does that mean? That means that you know that like my boo. You know what I'm saying? Like you down for me, I'm down for you. Like we got each other's back, right? Like it's that closeness, even in the midst of stress and strain. So you have to have ways to be able to get there. My husband and I will go out in the middle of the week to a movie. You know what I'm saying? Will we not? Yeah. We will do that and just finding a time, just a little second to get away and be with each other, hold hands. You know what I'm saying? It seems small and simple, but that's right, intimacy. That's what it is. Mm-hmm. You have to find ways to do that. So again, connection.
Number one, y'all. Number one, connection, communication, and commitment. The communication definitely needs to be there because how can you experience true intimacy? My wife has said over and over again, intimacy is into me you see. You really won't know what's going on internally unless you allow me the opportunity to express it and unless you're actually willing to pay attention to what it is that I'm expressing. You got to do that. You got to do that in order for intimacy to be present. And so in their communication, again, a lot of it seemed to be around what the household responsibilities are. But in your relationship, to survive the storms of marriage, you got to make sure you're communicating with your partner, whatever inadequacies and insecurities or deficits that you may be experiencing, or even strengths, goals, dreams. You got to make sure that you're sharing that with your partner so that they know what's going on in your inner world.
And you know what I needed last month or last year might not be what I need this month or this year. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? It's not about, feelings are not about being correct. Sometimes we don't want to share our feelings because it's like, that doesn't make sense. If anybody ever told you that, your partner or someone ever told you that doesn't make sense, or that doesn't really, like, you know, that it's not rational. Feelings aren't rational, but it's really important for you to share them. It's okay if they're not rational. I have told my husband on an occasion or two, like, you really are focused on some things that you're trying to get done. And I feel like you're not, you know, as soon as you finish and you're done, you're ready to go upstairs and go to bed. Meanwhile, I'm sitting, have I not? Mm-hmm. I'm sitting down here like, well, when is I going to get a chance to connect in with you?
Yeah.
I mean, like, and he's like, well, I got a lot I'm doing, and then I'm sleepy. I need to go to sleep. And I'm like, okay, that's cool, but I have a problem because I still need to connect with you, and I'm not feeling it. And this might have been fine last week or last month, but I'm not feeling it right now. Sometimes he like, okay, boo, thanks for letting me know. And he going upstairs anyway. And then other times, you know, he's like, all right, look, let's sit down. Let's sit down and let's watch Blackish real quick together. And let's talk a little bit. But it's not about me, you know, it doesn't matter if it's, you know what I'm saying? It doesn't need to be correct or like, oh, I'm going to put too much on him. That's not what it is. Like, I know you got a lot going on. I know you're managing a lot, but I'm feeling neglected. It just is what it is. It's not right or wrong. Feelings are what they are. And you got to be willing to share them.
Sacrifice. So that was number one, y'all. Prepare. You got to prepare.
We just took way too long with our numbers.
Number two.
Lord.
Number two, y'all.
Yo, it's 9:52.
We started late.
I don't care. Keep it going.
Number two. And again, if you haven't shared, please share this video. Number two, you want to make sure that you're identifying the triggers. Identify the triggering events that could possibly be indicators that a storm is on the horizon.
A storm is on the horizon. Woo!
Identify the triggering events that could indicate that a storm is on the horizon. I asked my wife probably about a year ago. I said, do you ever notice like the way the leaves and the trees, you know, fold up when there's about to be a storm?
Yeah, you did.
And my wife said no. She said no. I said, did you ever notice that, you know, the leaves and the trees are like white? The bottom of the leaves are like showing when the storm is on the horizon. She said, no, I never noticed that. You want to make sure that you're paying attention to the environment, the atmosphere of your relationship at all times.
Yes.
Pay attention at all times because there's some triggering events. There's some atmospheric things that are occurring in your relationship that will give you a glimpse or a clue that a storm may possibly be on the horizon. And again, if you prepared, then you'll be able to deal with it. But if you haven't, you'll get smacked, slapped, dab in the face by the storm, and you might possibly, the relationship may not possibly last. And so again, so when we talk about triggering events, a couple of the things that you want to pay attention to is this slow drift apart. Slowly drifting apart in the relationship. You know, so if you think about, let's look at the season change. So if you think about fall, the leaves on the trees don't go from being on to being off.
On the branches.
You know, in the blink of an eye. They don't go from being on to off onto the ground, onto the earth, you know, in a single day. It just doesn't happen that way. It's a gradual process of the leaves falling over time before the trees are left bare. You want to make sure, and so if you just, as an analogy, the leaves falling can be synonymous to the drifting apart that may be experienced in your relationship. It doesn't happen overnight. It happens over time. But you'll miss it if you don't pay attention. If you went to sleep on day one of fall and then woke up, winter, spring, summer, fall, winter, okay, and you woke up first day of winter, then you will probably say the leaves just dropped and then that was it. You know, it changes season like overnight, but no, it didn't happen that way. Again, it's a gradual process where the leaves are changing colors and then they're falling.
And look, you know, folks said the slow drift is hard to notice at first, you know, and people are saying over here on YouTube that they're talking about what we said about triggers. And somebody said, it seems like I always trigger something with my husband. Somebody else said that my wife's moods change just as easy as the wind does. But here's the thing. There are some things that are inherent to the personality of your partner. And there are other things that are really indicative of the fact that the energy in your relationship has shifted. And again, we talked early on about the fact that certain things can do that. Health issues, financial issues, right? Because if anxiety, you know, I remember a conversation that my husband and I were having. Oh, it was about our business. And so we, you know, first of all, for us to get to the table and have a meeting in the business is, you know what I'm saying, is a big accomplishment because he don't want to sit down and meet. And I'm like, can we meet, please?
You're sweating like a mug.
You know, I can't tell. So, so what I said to him, so we basically, let me not wrap y'all up too much about this, but what I said, we came together, we talked about what some of our goals were and some of the things that we wanted to do in terms of, initiatives and so forth, all of that. And as can be the case, as soon as we established that, a few days later, my husband was talking some other stuff. And so, can I just be real? I mean, you can go ahead and correct whatever you think you need to correct.
Oh, you know,
but I know you will. But my husband will have a clear plan. It may not be completely clear, but we'll have a plan. And he will just kind of go back to his comfort zone and start doing things that have nothing to do with the plan that we laid out. And I'm like, wait a minute, I thought we were going in a different direction. We're doing something else. Why are you still talking the same talk that was last quarter or last year? Why are you just doing the same old, same old? And so, you know, I started to become really agitated in my communication with him. I started to be a lot more short. Yeah. And and I wasn't aware of it at first. He was telling me that. It wasn't just because of that, but that's one big piece of what was going on. And what I was able to get in touch with when he said to me, you know, you're being different. Like, I don't understand what's going on with you. I said, you know, what's really happening for me is that when we put together a plan and we said we're going to do this, now we're talking about our business, but I want you to think about this in terms of things for your family, for your finances, for your children, for your career, whatever it is you all are talking about and planning for. And maybe you're not having long drawn out conversations, but you all have some general agreement. And then one person is just, you know, like not seeming like they was in the same conversation as you, right? What I told him, and I wasn't aware, I said, you know what, I think when we have, and first of all, this is his MO. He does this all the time. So it ain't like he getting brand new. You do it all the time. But what I said to him is, I think what happens for me is that it creates anxiety within me because I want us to be successful. I want us to have a new result. I want us to do better in the places where we haven't done so great. And so I get some hope when we start to talk about some new strategies, some different things. What's up, Kyrie? You know, and then when you start doing the same old, I get anxious because I'm thinking, oh my God, he ain't even with me. He's not on the same plane as me. He's not on one accord with me. And so basically the things that I'm hoping for, the things that I want, the success that I want for us and the vision that I have and that we're supposed to have, it's not going to happen. And I also feel like I'm by myself. Okay, well, I got to make this thing happen by myself. And so just think, I mean, so for me, all of that is like, I'm anxious because you're not with me. You got to have a keen sense of communication for him to be able to tell me what's going on with you, you're short me, whatever. And for me to be like, wait a minute. Oh, because we had these plans and then you go off and start doing something else. And now I feel like whatever it is we plan for, and I'm talking about business, but this could be in any area. It's not even, you know, now I got to push this thing on my own. I'm by myself because you're not with it. And in fact, on some level, you might even be sabotaging it. Oh, yeah. I just had count the spirit right there. So what I'm just saying to you is that you have to be willing to really tell the truth to your partner, because drifting apart, detaching from each other because of some of these things, you won't even catch it if you're not able to be honest about what you're seeing in your partner. Because I wasn't aware that I was being like that. He had to tell me, and then I had to get still and be like, what is up with me? I didn't even know it was anything up. Right. And then I was able to share. So I hope that that's helpful for you.
And so I brought that to my wife's attention because truthfully, my feelings were.
Well, what you mean? Yeah, because of how I was being.
Yeah. And, you know, my feelings were hurt in terms of me attempting to engage my wife and just the resistance, the opposition, the pushback and the energy that I was getting. You know, I felt like it was unwarranted. And so we had to have an honest conversation with each other. And when she shared what she shared and then I shared what I shared, it was an eye opener for the both of us. And, you know, I think that we benefited from that experience. And so, again, you know, one of the things that you want to do, y'all, is to identify the triggers that are indicators that the storm is coming. So my wife, you know, we mentioned drifting apart. There's a sense of detachment in the relationship. You know, when was the last time y'all kissed? When was the last time y'all touched? When was the last time y'all hugged? When was the last time y'all made love? When was the last time y'all held hands? When? You know, when? Is there a sense of detachment? When was the last time y'all had a conversation? When was the last time you sat down and looked in her eyes? When? Right. You know, I mean, when was the last time you sat down and was in the kitchen with her while she was cooking, or while he was cooking? I mean, these are opportunities for you to connect with your partner.
And we've said this before. I want to say it again. There are always windows of opportunity. If you're taking notes, write that down. Windows of opportunity. Windows are usually very small. It's a little moment. You walking around the house, you know what I'm saying? You doing your thing. And like my husband said, maybe somebody's in the kitchen and they're just kind of in there doing whatever they're doing, cooking, pulling stuff together. You have an opportunity to just go and, you know, be with them, be present. Maybe she's sitting on the couch, or, you know, he's doing something. You can go there's so many windows of opportunity. You know, somebody's standing in the mirror, you know, brushing their hair. That's an opportunity for you just to walk up and like, how you doing? I just want to come over here and give you a kiss. Right? But it requires what? Courage. It requires courage to do something where somebody might say to you, what's wrong with you? But it doesn't matter. If they say that to you, that's okay. Guess what? They received that on the inside. They was like, oh, you know, they were feeling that. So you got to look for those windows of opportunity.
You know, I see whenever my wife has her hair up, I see it as a window of opportunity for me to kiss her neck. I really do. You know, it's like an invitation, like, you know, come and kiss right back here on the neck. And you know, just, it's a window of opportunity. And I'm going to jump through that thing every single time. And so, and this is one of the prescriptions, you know, going back to the show Blackish, that was given by the marriage therapist. You know, she said, you know, make sure that you all go out on a date night. Go out on a date night because, again, it gives you an opportunity to connect. That's what she prescribed for him. Now, another thing that I want to lift up, too, is that there was some criticism in the show around seeing a marriage therapist, you know, receiving some outside help or some intervention for your relationship. Now, because both of us are therapists, of course, we're going to advocate for the fact that it's important, y'all.
And Black folks need to get up off that.
Yes,
I don't need no therapy.
Yes. It's important, y'all, that we get outside help. We get another perspective. We have the opportunity to express ourselves, to, you know, divulge whatever it is that's going on internally, to be able to have somebody help us process and sift through and unpack and deal with whatever issues we have going on. If we don't, then we just walk around in a stanky mess. We walk around, you know, just things are all convoluted internally, and you need to make sure that you put that thing out there and be able to examine it so that you can actually heal from that process. Therapy is not a bad thing, y'all. We both have been through individual therapy as well as couples therapy. You got to do your work. And a part of you doing your work is praying, but also a part of doing your work is sitting down in front of somebody who has not only the clinical experience, but maybe even the life experience to shed some light on your situation based off of their walk and what they've been through.
So they also said, did y'all hear this? For those of you who watch the show, they also said on the show, the therapist said on the show, maybe it was the therapist, I don't remember who it was, but something, I'm probably gonna mess it up because anytime I try to capture a little story that somebody told, I always mess it up. But basically they said, think about your marriage as Thanksgiving dinner. Okay, and so the turkey is your relationship. Anybody remember this? And, you know, all of the other things that you have to negotiate as a couple, those are the sides, right? That's the greens and the sweet potatoes and the macaroni and cheese and everything else. It's the bills, it's, you know, navigating career and so forth, community, your kids, all the different things you have going on, the people you're connected to. But oftentimes what we do is we start to get focused on and really overwhelmed by the sides, especially when you got a lot. You know, I mean, you go back and you want to get a little bit of this and a little bit of that. You just get, you know, you get tied up in all of that. And meanwhile, what you forget is that the turkey has to be tended to, right? If you don't come back to that turkey in the oven, especially, that thing can get dry. It's not good. Have anybody ever had a dry turkey, right? Doreen says she remembers that little analogy in the show. I say that to say that, look, you all as a couple, you're the main event. You are the unit from which everything flows. And so if you don't recognize that and you put yourself on the back burner, your relationship on the back burner, guess what? You're going to get out what you put in. And so you have to make sure that you make your relationship a priority. So the next one, be patient and proactive in your process.
Really, Joe?
He looking at me because I'm trying to skip one.
Really?
Yes,
no,
it's okay.
No.
So can I get be patient and proactive in your process?
Nah,
we don't say about 25 things.
Let's go to number 3.
You already know we did, but can we?
No,
why can't we just do this one though, and then go back to that one? Since I already said, be patient and proactive in your process. Okay. So when
that has several books here, so
of course that's why I say your 4 are always like 44 anyway, because number 4 has 10 points.
Okay.
But I love you. Be patient and proactive in your process.
And it's not too late to share, y'all.
It's not too late to share the video. So look, real quick, give grace. You got to give grace, right? So don't forget that along the way. Okay, you see those storms that are coming. You're getting clear about what the triggers are. You see that it's on the horizon. So then that means you got to give grace. Let me tell you something. One thing I have noticed about you is that in the last couple of months or so, I've been a lot more stressed and had a lot more on my plate. And I really noticed that you've really given me a lot more grace.
Oh, really? You
came out of that funky place where you was just like, and once we connected in and you realized everything, how I was feeling. Yeah, I mean, sometimes I'll even now, like I think just earlier in the week, I was like talking to you and I was like kind of short. Because that's, anybody know about that? That's how my overwhelm comes out, agitation and irritation. So I'm working on that. But you also have to understand and recognize that your partner is uniquely designed. So, you can get, because if he was like me, I would be irritated. Like, can you get your life? Like, you know what I'm saying? Can you, can you not have it? Like, I just said, how you doing? And I made a little comment and then you're like, what do you mean? I kind of coming for him, right? and so again, that's why he's my divine compliment. I've just noticed that you've given me grace because I tend to be, particularly after a lot of stuff that's been packed onto me in a day, it takes me a while to unwind. You know what I'm saying? Like stuff is running through my mind and I'm still tight. And I'm just like, if he's saying anything that is slightly agitating, it might be on a level 2, it turned into a 10. And I just recognize that you've just been giving me a lot of grace lately. You'll be like, oh, babe, what did you think I meant by that? I didn't mean that. I didn't mean to criticize you. That's not what I was trying to do. And I'm like, oh, well, because you said la la la. He's like, that's not what I'm trying to do, sweetheart. And, you just let me know. And you could totally engage me and we could go into an argument. But you don't do that. And I know that you're doing it on purpose because you typically are not this grace giving. You typically are not that, you know what I'm saying? You just been falling back like, all right, I know she in a special place right now. So I just want to say I appreciate that. It's not, we ain't just talking this talk, y'all. It's a strategy. I know where they at right now, so I'm going to be a grace giver.
Have y'all,
I don't take it for granted. I don't take it for granted.
Thank you, man. Back in the day, I was reading a book by Tony Robbins, and one of the things that he said is that change happens in an instant. And so back then, I think, my wife and I, we were discussing, debating, or conversing around whether or not that's real, whether or not that's true. And one thing that I will say is that, you can definitely make an internal shift in an instant. And sometimes what's required is that there may be external events that shift you, that move you, that compel you to really realize that all of the stuff that you was beefing about, the petty stuff, the insignificant stuff, it's really not what matters most. I mean, what matters most to me is my connection with my wife. It's my relationship, with my wife, and us being able to team, to be a unit and provide the best environment, and for our children. So again, in reference to giving grace, depending upon what's going on around you, again, you can instantaneously make a shift in terms of how you perceive your partner, how you approach your partner, how you approach the relationship. But the thing is, y'all, is that you got to be a student of what's going on around you. You got to be a student and then also be willing to apply. So we oftentimes get lessons. We oftentimes get clues. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure if anybody has read that book, The Alchemist. But, we also oftentimes get...
I'm sorry reading that again. I love that.
Yeah. We oftentimes get signs and You know, we get omens that give us an opportunity to take our spiritual game, our relationship game, our personal game to the next level. But we gotta pay attention. We gotta pay attention. And so if you find yourself in a space where you're just stuck on stupid and stuck on self, then you'll miss the opportunity to take advantage of paying attention to the omen and the benefits that can come from that experience.
So I just got to give you all a concrete example. So for example, I could be really focused on the fact that my husband, right, like this is something that probably earlier on in our relationship, I am a little more demanding in terms of my nature than he is, in terms of like attention and stuff like that. But early on, you know, I was very much, you know, demanding of that attention. And so here's the choice that we have for those of you who can resonate and identify with this. So at certain times in our relationship, he wasn't giving it to me. He's always been a good attention giver, but at certain times he wasn't giving it to me the way that I wanted him to give it to me. I wanted it a particular way and at a particular pace with a particular flavor and a very specific flow, because that's just me. I'm a Leo, right? And so early on, I would just be critical and I would just be thinking like, you know, you're not doing this and you're not doing that. But as my husband just talked about in terms of really upping your spiritual game and your personal development game, you know, what if your partner and their inability or unwillingness to give you what you want in a particular time, and at a particular time rather, is directly connected to what it is that you need. Like you need to not get it. Like you need to figure out how to get it yourself. Maybe what I'm looking for is something that I'm trying to get met in me that is inappropriate for me to be trying to get met through him. You understand what I'm saying? Like I'm trying to get this need of being validated and I'm okay. And do you love me? Do you love me? Show me, show me, show me. And maybe I need to figure out how to do that for myself. And so I can focus on the fact that you're my husband. You're supposed to give me this energy and you're supposed to do this. And while that may be true, again, marriage is about two people growing each other in the way that they need to be grown. And you don't even know how the Creator is using you to grow the other person. You know what I'm saying? So maybe you ain't supposed to get it because maybe you have to ground yourself. And maybe I'll need to learn how to regulate my emotions a little bit better. And maybe I need to learn how to give myself a little bit of a lift and stop looking to this man. Oh, my goodness. Oh, even as I say that, you know what I'm saying? Like that thing right there it gets me really emotional because it's a big thing for me. And it has been a big thing for me. And I've gotten better over time and I will stay needy. But guess what? I have learned how to grow because I have learned how to not personalize all the time, not getting what I want the way I want it, and figured out, wait a minute, what is the lesson unfolding before me? Again, what is it that I'm supposed to be getting out of this thing? I'm gonna have to sit here by myself. He ain't gonna rub my back. He ain't gonna come over and say, "Are you okay? How you doing?" And I'm gonna feel some type of way for a good long minute. But that's what I'm supposed to be doing because that's where I need to grow. Your partner will push your buttons in that way, and that's the divine design and the blessing, really, of marriage. So think on that, y'all. Think on that.
So again, y'all, be patient and proactive in your process. We're gonna roll through these really quickly. Place your.
Well, no, I did. Maybe I did.
Well, no. Place your ego, y'all. Place your ego to the left, to the left. Place it to the left and pursue your spouse.
Say it again.
To the left, to the left. Place your ego to the left, y'all. Place your ego to the left and pursue your spouse. You know, I remember a scene.
You ain't gonna tell a story.
I remember a scene in the show in the show Blackish, where Dre, he asked the question, "What's going on with us? What's going on with us?" And so that was a pursuit. That was a pursuit right there. You know, he was pursuing Bo and being vulnerable in that process. Yes, thanks for saying that. Being vulnerable in that process. What's going on with us? I don't like this space. You got to make sure that when it comes to these storms in your relationship that you're pursuing your partner, to identify, to acknowledge that you don't like this space. We're disconnected right now. I don't like the way this right here feels. What's going on with us? You know, I feel bad about, you know, where we are right now. You got to make sure that you're willing to step into that space of vulnerability and pursue your partner. Pursue your partner by acknowledging what's going on, letting them know that you know what's going on, and then also seeking to endeavor to find out what y'all can do together to come up out of that space.
So the next one is acknowledge repair attempts. So I talked earlier about the fact that my husband has been giving me grace when I have a lot on my plate and I'm really stressed. And I'm not always the most patient person. And so that to me is like your repair attempt, because we were kind of like in a funky spot for a second. Right. And your willingness to be like, babe, what's up? It's all good. You know, I feel like you're trying to repair the disconnect that may have been there.
Yeah, and what I've noticed that you've done too is that, like, you know what some of my triggers are, like walking into the house and things being all chaotic and all over the place. Like I noticed in my wife, you know, she'll make an effort to like just make sure everything is straight to try to minimize some of the stress, and sometimes it don't work because I still be, you know, in my man period. But in any event, you know, I do notice it. I notice the repair attempts.
And see, you were able to articulate what is particularly helpful for me and what's particularly helpful for him. Avoid turning deficits into disasters. You know, that's going to get old after a while. If you keep pointing out what your partner doesn't do well, what they're not gifted in, what they seem to be really, you know, funky in. I mean, okay, like that is what it is. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not a neat freak by any means, and this brother likes to pick up everything he sees.
But I'm not a neat freak too.
You're a neat freak, but you are a little bit of a control. We got a little control something going on. You want everything to be in order. I won't call you control freak because that's not accurate, but you know, you can kind of be there. So I already know that about him. He knows that about me. We can beat that dead horse over and over again, or we can learn how to negotiate each other as we live our lives together. Accepting responsibility is important, y'all. Yeah. Some people don't want to say you don't want to say you did nothing. You don't want to own up to nothing. Like I don't
understand. It's always funny when couples come to sit in front of us and they're like always pointing the finger. They pointing the finger and blaming their part. But I mean, what have you done? I mean, the space that you all in right now, y'all didn't get there just because of him, just because of her. You contributed to this as well. So what are you doing that led to you all getting into this space? Whether you were complicit and you knew that something was going down and you didn't address it, or whether or not you were ignorant to the fact that something was going down and you chose to put your blinders on. Like, what have you done to contribute to the space that you're in right now?
And let me tell you something. If you know, one way that I quickly measure somebody's emotional intelligence, otherwise known as emotional IQ, has been shown and proven to be one of the key deciding factors for how successful people are, whether it be in business, whether it be in your relationship, period. Like, you know, traditional IQ is highly overrated. Emotional IQ, which is the ability to be able to kind of assess the scene intuitively, know when you need to lean in or lean back. What tone of voice do you use? Do you send that through an email or do you say that in person? Do you validate and then bring in what you really want to get said, or do you kind of hold off? Like people who know how to do that on the job with their bosses, with people who are important in their business dealings, in their homes with their children, those are the people who are successful. Okay, so I want you to be clear. And so emotional IQ and having that emotional intelligence, I quickly assess that by how willing people are when we are counseling them to own up. Because even if I don't believe it, because I'm gonna tell you something, I may not even fully feel what it is that I'm really saying about what I could do better, but I know I better come up with something.
Absolutely.
You understand? Like, I already know. I already know, like, it ain't just him. I feel like it 95% is him and 5% is me, and I don't quite know what the 5% of me is yet.
You don't know?
You know what I'm saying? I don't even know. But I'm going to come up with something, right? So emotional intelligence is the ability to know that, you know, you're not going to get anywhere if you don't validate somebody else's point of view. If you don't own up to the fact that even if I'm not clear about where I'm messing up, even if my intention is good, clearly I'm not hitting the mark because you're not feeling me, right? I got to be able to speak to that. You know, like you got to be able to do that. So understand that you have to accept responsibility. And if you really struggle with that, or people tell you that you don't do that, it really is a reflection of your maturity, because it's not really something that you need to feel to be able to do. It is a strategy, and it is a mark of maturity.
Yeah, and then you also want to identify and address the unmet need. You know, you won't be able to be patient or even be proactive in the process unless you identify and address the unmet need.
I know the next one. That's the last one.
So it's important, y'all. You know, you can't just stay surface with that thing. You know, a lot of time disagreements and pettiness and, you know, small little beefs and stuff, really are indicators that there's something going on beneath the surface. So you want to make sure that you're looking beneath the surface when it comes to dealing with storms in your relationship, and you're addressing the unmet need. There's been a number of times with my wife, she's expressed to me that she wanted to be validated. There's been a number of times with my wife, she shared with me that, I need to make sure that I'm paying attention, taking my time, and tuning into her, and not just being preoccupied with what's going on. Like right now, it's the NBA playoffs, y'all. So I've been on these games hard, real hard. And so, she says to me a number of times, like, can I get some time? Can I get some attention? And I'm like, you got to wait until the game is over.
No, like, really? No.
But nah, so I recognize the fact that my wife, she wants to be tended to, paid attention to. But, it's imperative that we address the unmet need versus staying on the surface.
So the last thing that I want to say, and the last piece we're going to give you, is that you have to choose each other. This is the last one. We done did 25.
No, because I have it broken down a certain way.
Can you stop saying it's 4
points? Can you go back to my outline?
No. Can you stop saying it's 4 points?
No, I'm saying
y'all, was it 4 points, but it was like 25 points in 4. It was like 1 with 10 bullets.
So if we look at the outline, you got a outline.
No,
you got the Roman numeral.
That's misleading.
1,
that's misleading for you guys.
You got the A, B,
it's not 4.
C.
4 would be like
that's
boop,
what we doing.
Boop, boop, boop.
That's what we doing.
You know what I'm saying?
I'm breaking mine down into sub points.
Choose each other. That's what you need to do. So on Blackish, at the end of the last episode, what they ended up doing, what happened, I hope I'm not spoiling this for anybody, but Bo's,
I ain't seen it yet. You about to spoil it for me.
You bet. So Bo's father. And so she called him up because they were living in separate places. And she called him up like crying, like, but he's dead. My father died. Right. That's not how she said it, but that's what she said. Right. And so he rushed over to her. They completely, kind of were pulled back together. And he basically said, he stayed. He kept staying night after night. And he was like, I don't want to leave. She said, I don't want you to leave. And so that crisis brought them back together. I think you kind of spoke about that earlier, about having these moments where you recognize what's really important. You have to choose each other. You have to recognize that there are going to be issues, but you can choose each other. You do not have to stay stuck in the madness. You don't have to do that. You can actually say, you know what, in the midst of the strain, in the midst of the stress, you can give the best of yourself. You can lean into the relationship.
It's simple.
It's simple.
I love it.
It's my song. Anybody watch this live stream more than twice, you done heard it. Hey! So, choose. You're not going, theme song, that's right, Tanisha. You're not going to be able to have all the answers. You're not going to be able to get it all right. You're not going to feel good all the time. You're not going to be able to have them apologize to you perfectly. It's not going to work like that. But you have to decide to choose each other. I'm choosing you. If I'm going to be agitated, I might as well be agitated with you. If I'm going to be irritated, I might as well be irritated with you. Because I love you, boy. Yes. So, y'all, we hope this has been helpful for you tonight. Margaret, it's good to see you. Yvonne, I see you. It's simple, y'all. Stay committed, stay connected, have courage, have faith, and love each other. Until next time, bye.
All right, y'all. Peace.
What's up, Michelangelo? Bye.